So a couple of weeks ago, by the time you watch this, I did a video where I came out and said that around the Memorial Day weekend, or around that time frame, that a certain individual came out at a rally in Dallas, Texas, and basically declared that our former president could be reinstated. Now, when I did that video, even though it fell under the ad suitability monetization, if you will, because of, I guess, the subject, there was a lot of reactions to it. Some mixed, some, well, mainly, yeah, some that were mixed. Some were, cool to hear, some were glad, I should say, to hear about this possibility, while others were like, that doesn't make sense. There's a pecking order, if you will. And to me, like I said in that video, it's the first time I've ever heard of something like this. Of a former leader of a country, and in this case the U.S., being reinstated to that position. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is actually nothing more than a business mindset by our former president. It's a business mindset that he has incorporated into those that support him, whether it's those within his former cabinet, his circle, his trustees, whatever the case may be, his team, if you will. This is a method, a mindset that he's instilled into them, as well as he's instilled into those that support him. And some would say that is a good mindset to have, because running a country, whether it's here in the U.S., whether it's Canada, the U.K., Mexico, Japan, you name it, running a country is basically like running a business. You got all these responsibilities put onto your table that are very business-like and relatable that you need to take care of, that it feels like you're not running a country, you're running a business. So that's the mindset the former POTUS, the former POTUS has installed into the mindset of those that support him and those within his team. So by having that mindset, a mindset that he's had even before he became the leader of our country, before he became, the POTUS, it's a mindset he's had when he was running his own businesses in New York and in various parts of the country, like, in Las Vegas and in Atlantic City and stuff like that, as well as in other places around the world where he would have properties and stuff. He's had this business mindset for a long time, for over 30, 40 years. So by having that kind of a mindset, of course he's going to incorporate that into how he would have run the country, or how he wants to run the country, and get it to the providence he believes it should be. But with that said, there is a bit of a, I guess you could say, a clash, if you will, a bit of a clash of thought processing. You see, although he wants to view things from a business standpoint and kind of look at it from that standpoint, I should say, others are trying to knock some sense, I guess you could say, into him and those that support him. Basically stating that it doesn't work that way, that, being the leader of a country and being voted out as that leader is not like being voted out as, let's say, the CEO of a company, or voted out as the president of a company. It's not the same. It's not the same where you're voted out, but then you're reinstated. It's not the same, and that is true. This basically is on an entirely different spectrum. But again, it's all about the mindset. It's how you view things from your point of view, how you were trained to view things, from a certain point of view. How you were trained to, run businesses or be in charge of companies and stuff. You're trained in that style that when you go into another position, when you go into another venture, if you will, that's similar but totally different from what you're used to, you're used to having that style of mindset, still incorporated into you. And thus you believe that that mindset will work just as well in running a country as it did running a business. And that is a completely different scenario. A scenario that doesn't gel very well. Sometimes it does, depending on certain areas, but most of the times it's like mixing oil and water. It doesn't work. So, for those that support the former POTUS and say that are in his team, in his group, if you will, his inner circle, along with the Americans that do support him, for them to come out and say that that potentially could happen, and oh, by the way, it could happen as early as within the next 2 months. That's a mindset, basically, that he has instilled into them, into his supporters, as well as a mindset that was instilled into himself when he was, basically moving up in the business world and having all these properties, in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and other parts of the world. It's a mindset that he felt, and believed that if it made that, made him successful, that if it made him successful in the business world, that it'll help make the country successful with him as leader. It's a mindset is what it is. It's a state of mind. I mean, it's kind of like basically when you give, let's say, in this case, some kind of bit of technology like this here. Like you give a phone like this to somebody, let's say, that was born in the 40s or even the late 30s, and say, hey, this is how you're going to communicate with us now. Some people might get used to it, but others will not, because their mindset is old school mindset. They're used to the old school method of, getting on the phone, if you will, picking up the phone and calling somebody. Or they're on the mindset of basically, let me see, here we go. Just making sure that's shut. They're in the mindset of grabbing a pen, getting a piece of paper, if you will, and writing down, their thoughts, or writing down a letter. Or they have the mindset of, like I said, getting on the phone, and instead of talking to an automatic automation, they'd rather wait to talk to a person. Or if where they have to go to talk to somebody who's close by, they'd rather drive to that place and talk to that person, in person. Because of that, because they have that mindset. They have that old school mindset of, hey, I'd rather do stuff in person, or the way I'm used to doing it because that's how I was raised. That's how I was raised. That's how I was trained, if you will, in that old school mindset, not a new school mindset. Even though, like I said, there are those of that age group that are willing and can learn about the advanced technology given to them, especially nowadays. With those being the exceptions, there are those that, like I said, are old school to the core. Like they're willing to work with the technology that's out there, but again, they'd rather write something down. They'd rather talk to somebody on the phone, stuff like that. They're very set in their ways. And in comparison to our former POTUS, that's how he is from a business standpoint. His mindset is of a business mindset. He, with all due respect, has not grasped the situation or the reality of, hey, this isn't a business. This is a country. Things are different. You can't just be simply reinstated because there's a pecking order. I mean, it's crazy, because here's the legitimacy of it. If our current president, our current leader, was to be removed for any reason, then our vice president, or Madame Vice President, if you will, would be next in line. And if she was removed, then the House Speaker would be the next after her, and so on and so forth. It's a pecking order. But again, the reason our former POTUS has this mindset instilled not only in himself, but has instilled it into those that are in his group that support him politically, as well as those as well as the fellow Americans that support him, you know, from a trust standpoint, from a voting standpoint, or whatever you want to call it. He's mainly installed all that mindset into all of them. And all of them have agreed that that's a mindset that works best for running any kind of country. But if anybody's wondering why, this individual a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago almost, by the time you watch this, is somebody that, is insistent in saying, hey, he could be simply reinstated, it's because it's a mindset that was instilled in her and all those associated that are a part of his team, his support team, his, kind of inner circle. It's a mindset he's instilled in them, just like he's instilled in the American supporters, because it's a mindset that he was instilled with when, moving up and making his name, putting his stamp, if you will, on the business world with everything that he kind of has ownership over. Properties in, like I said, Vegas, Atlantic City, Reno, I think even has some properties. He has properties in. Properties around the world. It's a mindset that he's had since his days in the business world. And it's a mindset that, again, he feels, and others, and many that do support him, even those within his inner circle and team, believe is best for running a country. But that's why basically you have all these people, including this individual, believing that reinstatement of the former POTUS to that title is possible, if not inevitable. But what do you guys think? What do you think of all this? Do you think it's because of our former POTUS's mindset of, being, mostly a business individual for most of his life, moving up and instilling that mindset into those that are within his team, as well as into the American people that support him? Do you think that's why they're not understanding that it's not as easy as, reinstatement to a position in a regular business or company? Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Love to hear from each and every one of you. And I am out.